जिसने Scale AI is basically a really big company within the US जो कि data labeling and providing data for AI research and evaluation वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा companies उसे use करती हैं. तो he was a CEO there. Then Zuckerberg hired him last year actually for $1 billion. I think it was all over the news. मुझे
Exactly.
जर्मनी में एक दफ़ा भी नहीं याद कि I did like work at night. मुझे it's not a thing. लेकिन
Yeah.
यहाँ इतना normalized है वो culture कि like sometimes मैं 7-8 बजे जा रहा होता था घर वापस and like there are people there at the office until 11, right? तो कोई होता है
Right.
which is like, man, okay, in a way it's motivating कि the people are pushing and
Or
there are people
being.
around so you can do it.
Mhm.
I took that as a challenge. I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. मैंने सारी रात लगाई. अगले दिन I had the answer sheet, like everything done, like I had coded everything out, right? And I think that is the first time I truly realized that I love this thing. Like this is what I want to do. There was no lack of clarity there. I was like, अच्छा ये चीज मुझे बहुत पसंद है. I can spend hours on it.
Today we have a really special guest, a person who I went to high school with, also to university with. सबसे important चीज़ ये है कि this person has lived and worked in Germany as well. And now he's currently based out of San Francisco, USA, and he currently works at Meta, Facebook Meta. And thank you so much for joining us today. We have with us Mr. Tahasya.
Of course, yeah, very very happy to join.
Thank you, Taha, for joining us. So let's start. Let's just dive right into it. I haven't talked to you in a while, so I'm also very interested. Currently, you work at Meta as a senior software engineer.
That's right.
So tell us के Meta के अंदर एक senior software engineer, what do you do? What is your day-to-day like? What tasks are you currently handling? If you can tell us
Sure.
जितनी भी detail में, that would
Yeah.
be great. Or I'm just curious, how is it?
Yeah,
Silicon Valley
definitely.
Meta.
It's super fun. It's been over a year now. It feels like जब मैंने Meta join किया था around तब it felt like it would be like like a big company and like lots of people, lots of things going on. But while I was still in orientation, Zuckerberg announced this new org, like the super intelligence org. And उससे पहले 2 से 3 साल I was working in AI, right? So I was just like very curious and just wanted to work in that space. So whichever interviews and things I was doing, I was like, yeah, whatever, wherever I go, whether it's like a big company, small company, I just want to be like within AI, and whatever I work on, I feel like would, bring me more joy if I'm like working on that. Cause I like engineering, software engineering, it's fun. Like I also want to be working in a space that is enjoyable. So when I joined, it turned out कि उन्होंने ये पूरी एक नई चीज़ spin up की, which operates very differently than rest of Meta. So you can imagine कि they're smaller teams and they work like as a startup, right? तो जो pace है build करने की, product ship करने की is like way faster. मसलन जो बाकी product है Meta के, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, like all those are like much bigger products and like billions of लोगों को serve कर रहा है. So they almost can't do it just because, privacy policy, like, security, scale, those are like topics जिसमें there's a limit to how fast you can move, right?
Right.
लेकिन इसमें I feel like it's been quite fun क्योंकि मैं पहले भी startups में काम कर रहा था. Like I said, पिछले वाला was Replit, it's like a
I know.
platform where you can build, code and applications with AI. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were working there, I actually checked it out to see what it does,
Nice.
and then I already saw ये हैं जो कि cursor or
Yeah, exactly.
I actually downloaded and used it, tried
Nice.
to build
Nice.
something with it.
Yeah.
So I know.
I would actually recommend it to a lot of people. I worked on the coding agent, Wojo, like the main product on Replit. I worked on that. And basically, you can take like a natural language prompt, like you can just say, "Cha, like I want to build like an app to schedule tennis matches," right? For example, and you can build an end-to-end like application with a working like backend and everything. So it's pretty cool to work on that. Like, and Pit, I was like, "Acha, I want to move to a big company," but as you would have it. हुआ ये कि अच्छा हाँ Meta when I joined, we spun up super intelligence, so it's been super fun. काफी different चीजों पे काम किया है. abhi tak I shipped a lot of internal stuff kyunki Meta is like trying to roll out some of their new models. Abhi recent jo aaya Muse Spark, uski production mein, I help with that. Sare jo evals, research और वो सारी चीजें. And then now working on newer like Meta के जितने AI products आ रहे हैं, like those launches. So I'm working with teams there to enable it both internally, because कुछ हमारे tooling ऐसी है कि जिसमें we internally need to use AI, and then फिर external
Mm-hmm.
वाली है, which either like enabling our Instagram, like I'm working a
Right.
lot with Instagram team to enable
Right.
AI, right? So you can imagine,
Instagram
right?
with the Meta
Any
guy.
messages exactly you see, or any AI stuff you see on there is like, our teams are like sort of helping with that. So basically that's kind of what's been happening. It's been a lot of fun. Very chaotic too at times, like कभी कभी ऐसे होता है कि दो हफ्ते हैं, like it's just like grinding really hard, and then it's like, but it's a good balance. Um,
Nice.
I think definitely startups से ज़्यादा work life balance बेहतर है. मेरा पिछला वाला
Okay.
startup was pretty crazy, like and that's where we'll talk about it later. Like in Germany US का वो work balance comparison
Yeah.
आता है, and suddenly you're like, wow, like it's very different. People work a
Yeah.
lot here.
Yeah. Now that you've mentioned it, so we can already
Yeah,
talk about. So if you can tell, work-life balance-wise, how many hours do you work on average now versus the startup Replit that you were working
yeah,
at?
yeah,
And also if you can go a little bit into salaries, bands, because so I mean I know that San Francisco may you cannot live if you don't get less than 250,000.
exactly. Yeah,
So that's like what I've read.
yeah, yeah,
So if you can go a little bit more into that as a software engineer,
definitely.
senior software engineers, whatever, how the levels are a
Yeah,
little bit in that, and
yeah,
also
for
how it
sure.
is the startup scene, because I also have some colleagues from my masters who eventually
Yeah.
went to Silicon Valley, excuse me, to work basically, and what they tell me is also that below 250 is like 60,000 or 55,000 in Germany.
I think that's accurate. Um, Starting with work life balance, I think comparing to Replit was a lot of long nights and weekends of work.
Yeah.
And just because there was like 30 people, जब मैंने
Mm-hmm.
Replit join किया था 2024 के शुरू में, उसके 2 महीने बाद we had a layoff, right? उस वक्त, like even though we had funding and सारा कुछ, like and there wasn't a defined product, तो they laid off about 30% of the people. तो फिर engineering team हमारी काफ़ी छोटी थी, तो it was just like a 60-70% team, right? उसमें से कोई there was like 30 engineers or something.
Okay.
So basically, like वो उसमें you have to focus on product, you have to focus on AI. I was a part of the AI team. So there was like a lot of surfaces and like 2 or 3 people managing everything. Up to like with AI you can do a lot more. I think AI काफी ज़्यादा efficient हो गया, तो like you can, I feel like now being in that same place I would have felt more like at ease. लेकिन there was a lot of pushing, and the expectation was just like everyone's expected just like push hard because it's a startup, and but the good thing is like you get stock, right? That's the biggest thing that I feel
Mm-hmm.
like in Germany isn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, शायद कुछ companies में है, लेकिन if the company makes it big, at least you get some you get a slice of the cake, right? So in that way, it was possible. Like in pair, over time, it just was disrupting my personal life too much. Just me, I was like, "Acha, like this is good." Like in, there's a limit to how much you can
Yeah.
sort of go.
If
So
I
yeah,
may interrupt and ask
yeah.
quantitatively, if you were to say, Getcha, how many hours per day out of 24 hours were
Yeah,
you focused on work, yet would be running through your
yeah,
head?
yeah. I think like at least like 10, 11 hours every day, right? So we're talking around 50 hours a week.
Okay.
Um, and I remember the same thing in Germany. I would be very like everyone would just leave at 4 or 5. So मुझे
Exactly.
Germany में एक दफा भी नहीं याद कि I did like work at night. मुझे like it's not a thing.
Mm.
लेकिन
Yeah.
यहाँ इतना normalized है वो culture कि like sometimes मैं 7-8 बजे जा रहा होता था घर वापस, and like there are people there at the office until 11, right? तो कोई होता है,
Right.
which is like, man, okay, in a way it's motivating कि the people are pushing and
Or
there are people
being.
around so you
Mm-hmm.
can do it. लेकिन कभी-कभी exhausting भी होता है कि why is this like a normal thing, right? But to each their own, and
Yeah, yeah.
companies, हर company भी differently operate
Of
करती है. I know
course.
for a fact कि
Well, recently, I've been researching a bit and talking to people, and they're like, "No, yeah, it depends. Sometimes it depends on the company, team, etc." And like you mentioned, now. So we have a evidence basically कि Meta के अंदर there are teams who
Yeah.
work 8 hours dot to dot.
Yeah, even less sometimes. But then there are teams that I've seen work over the weekends, like Maslan Hamari jo ek team hai, and I'm working in that team. Like we're pushing certain things that need to be launched within, let's say, the next like month or two. और उसमें like वो direct directive है like from Zuckerberg and like Alex Wang. Alex Wang is like the guy from Scale AI. जिसने Scale AI is basically a really big company within the US जो कि data labeling and providing data for AI research and evaluation वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा companies उसे use करती हैं. तो he was a CEO there. Then Zuckerberg hired him last year actually for $1 billion. I think it was all over the news. So he's managing AI, the lab, right? So basically, from both of them, they're like, "Acha, haan, yeah, this needs to like happen." तो फिर like all the teams are like, "Acha, yeah, we're doing it." तो उसके ऊपर, I think the good thing is कि recognition काफ़ी है, लेकिन उसमें फिर also that means कि it's not the same as like working
Fair
at a
enough.
different team where it's just like lesser, not so many eyes on it, लेकिन फिर it goes, it's like you pick your poison, right? It's like it's like that. तो हाँ, इस वाले में इस तरह है कि like कुछ लोग हैं, मुझे पता है रात तक काम कर रहे होते हैं, I'm seeing messages and then also over the weekends and like but then balance out हो जाता है. I know also like teams को फिर they give like a couple of days off and then the salaries are
अच्छा.
good. So there are different things that kind of
Right.
compensate. So overall, like they don't just, I think startups में ये होता है कि grind culture is like just very normalized and उसका कोई benefit भी नहीं होता. Like you're just expected to do it. So it's not like you're doing something above and beyond, right? Meanwhile, at Meta, if you're doing it, it is recognized
Recognize.
and it will be rewarded. And a lot of times you get bonuses and things. So it kind of
ठीक है.
evens out.
ठीक है.
But yeah, it's the same thing. Like even within Meta, and I think the good thing about Meta is like after 1 year, you can switch teams, right? Within Meta.
Okay.
तो और इतनी सारी teams होती हैं कि they're internally looking. So we have like an internal tool जिसमें you can just go and like apply for a different job. So you can just transfer to a different team if you're like, अच्छा हाँ, ये मेरे लिए work out नहीं कर रहा. And I know there are people that from my team had done that. So and they found that, right? कुछ लोगों के बच्चे बड़े होते हैं and they just don't have that time क्योंकि फिर day care जाना होता है, ये करना है, वो करना है, and that's just like you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So but the balance, you can make it happen basically.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's kind of nice.
So yeah, no, understood. Thanks for elaborating on that. I think really important point, which I personally also didn't know. So ये तो हो गया work life. So what I understand is that it is possible you can have a life even if you work at
That's
Meta.
right. That's right.
Coming to the second part of the question that I asked earlier, the monetary benefits of having a job at Meta. So can you tell me a little bit about these bands if you have
Sure.
that? For instance, I worked at Amazon for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
वहाँ पे there were these levels L4, 5,
Exactly.
6, 7,
Yeah.
8. And based on that, there were specific numbers कि अगर इसके अंदर है तो US के अंदर this much,
That's
etc.,
right.
etc. But of course, it was different based on if you're in Amazon retail or AWS.
Yeah.
So that discrimination was there. So how is it at Meta? Is it
Yeah.
please enlighten us.
I first of all would just recommend, I think, checking out levels.fyi. It's like a website and it has, I think for the US at least, it's very accurate. I think a
ठीक
lot of
है.
people post their like salaries. So
Right.
I think it's the best part yeah, you can put in any company, same as like Amazon, Google, Meta, Anthropic, OpenAI, all of
Okay.
those. And it has pretty good bands. Generally though, I think one thing that is like very normal here in the US is like the salary has three parts usually, right? एक होता है base salary, which is like money you're just gonna get for the year. एक है stock, the equity part of it. Of course, equity is it's not liquid unless you work at a public company, right? If you're working at a startup, then it might mean nothing or it might mean a lot in a couple of years. So you
Risky है.
I know people exactly. Yeah, I know people that have made millions out of it, and it's risky, right? And
Yep.
there are also times when you make nothing out of it. So, and then the third part is the bonus part. Usually, there's
Right.
some, the bigger companies they have like end of year bonus or something that is applied to your salary too.
Mhm.
Now, generally, I will say that that is quite accurate, especially now with the boom in AI
Mhm.
and a lot of people are moving to San Francisco. I think मैंने कल ही post देखी थी इस बारे में
Okay.
जिसमें it was saying कि now San Francisco is the most expensive city to live. And I don't
Mm.
think that's untrue. Like, यहाँ लोगों के पास पैसा है, but then, that means everyone wants to rent or फिर वो housing
Mm.
prices ऊपर चली जा रही हैं. And, you know, so that's definitely like a problem. But I will say like even जहाँ bands की बात करें, we can talk about like entry level generally will be like around exactly like 250 and over a little bit. Um, and that's like, you'll be comfortable, but of course not like super, you're not saving a lot or anything. And
Okay.
then, you go a level up, then you're looking at 300, 500
Mhm.
K. And then uske baad, if you're going staff and above, it's 600, $700,000 a year, and then
Okay.
goes up to even like 1 million. Depends on the company, right? I know
Crazy.
people that, they're senior software engineers, staff software engineers at OpenAI Anthropic making like upwards of 1 million
Wow.
a year. So
Crazy.
it's a gamble, right? Exactly. Like I know people that joined 2 years ago. The stock, I
Mm.
think, since then, Anthropic has like I don't know how many x their
Yeah.
valuation, right? So वही
Skyrocketed.
stocks जो उनको I guess like $50 पे मिला होगा is like now $600-800, right? So it's just like skyrocketing. उनका IPO नहीं हुआ, but it's looking. I will say कि उनके compared to the revenue and the valuation of the company, it's very very inflated. So it could just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it
I
could
think so
burst and
too.
again, yeah,
Yeah.
it might come down. But from the way it looks right now, that's why the real estate prices are going crazy. And
Okay.
there was like this funny post somebody put up their house on Zillow yeah, वो real estate का platform है जो they were like अगर आपके पास OpenAI Anthropic का stock है, I'll take that and you can like buy my house that way. So it's kind of funny, people do all kinds of things, but yeah, it's that was kind of funny and interesting to see too how the world is almost. I feel like Silicon Valley wala bubble is like too real. कभी कभी मैं कहीं और जाता हूँ, I'm like it's just like a different thing. Like you come here and then everything's AI and everyone's talking about tech and
Mm.
you're like, whoa, the world's advanced, and then you go somewhere else and you're like, actually, yeah, not really. Like how many
Right.
people are using Claude Code on the daily, right? यहाँ हर
Yeah,
कोई
yeah,
यही
yeah.
बात करता है, कैफे चले जाओ वो यही बात करे होंगे कि वो मैंने इस तरह करके एजेंट्स अपने सेट किए हैं, कोई और ये बात कर रहा है कि मैं स्टार्टअप बना रहा हूँ, ये ऐसे सारा.
Yeah,
तो
yeah, yeah.
तो yeah, it's कभी कभी it's just crazy. You're like you
Then
can't get out of it.
hey, that makes sense. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think I understand what you mean. Recently, I was at a networking dinner here for Berlin startups, and there it was the same. यही
Yeah.
talk चल रही थी.
Yeah.
कोई अपना बना रहा है, अपना
Yeah.
प्लेटफॉर्म बना रहा है, अपनी ऐप बना रहा है जिस पे कंपनी को अलाउ कर रहा है ताकि डायरेक्टली
Exactly.
लोग अपने खुद ना एजेंट्स बना सकें बिकॉज उसमें सिक्योरिटी और कंप्लायंस का इशू आता है यहाँ
Exactly.
पे प्लस यूरोप में जीडीपीआर की वजह से काफ़ी रिस्ट्रिक्शंस
Yeah.
भी हैं
Yeah.
तो यू ऑल्सो हैव टू बी केयरफुल विद दैट अच्छा
Definitely.
Thank you for elaborating on that. अच्छा मुझे ये बताओ कि how is it in San Francisco? Like you said, it's super expensive. Can you give me
Mhm.
some numbers as in rents
Yeah.
क्या हैं? Let's say 100 square meter
Yeah. Yeah.
apartment. Yeah, let's say downtown again, there 2-room apartment. I know this information is available online. It's just
Yeah. Stay
it's
away from
always good to
downtown though.
it's always good to know from someone who you
Yeah.
know they can give you you're there on ground. So I would trust your information more than Googling it basically.
For sure. No. I agree. I think downtown to pehle I would just not recommend it to
Okay.
anyone. I think San Francisco is one of those cities where you go anywhere, you're like, acha, haan, downtown, let me check that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in San Francisco ka, it's like ulata bilkul. Like it's only offices. And then
Mm-hmm.
the actual places to live are outside of downtown, right? Golden Gate Bridge is north of the city, and then there's the Bay Bridge that is like the east of the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of in the middle
Okay.
of that, and then I would probably say like more like northeast.
ठीक है.
Uh, all right, अच्छा. तो जहाँ तक रेंट की बात आई, इन द लास्ट ईयर बहुत ऊपर जा चुका है ऑलरेडी. आई फील लाइक पिछले साल के अंदर ना जो नया मेरा है यहाँ पे अभी डैनियल लूरी है. uh he's made it really good. Like वो San Francisco generally is improving a lot, right? वो
Okay.
सबने सुना होगा homelessness crisis है, ये है,
Yeah,
वो
yeah, yeah.
चीजें. वो बहुत बेहतर हो चुका है अब तक, like since he's
Okay.
come, उसने like he's made a lot of investments in that. ऊपर से he's paying businesses extra to open up in downtown, right?
Okay.
He's like giving benefits, like आपको like interest free loans वगैरह मिल जाते हैं and this kind of thing. तो उसके वजह से businesses काफ़ी आ रहे हैं, which is good. लेकिन इसका ये भी मतलब है कि एआई कंपनी ज़्यादा ओपन हो रही है एंड देन मोर पीपल आर मूविंग। आई हर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल मूव फ्रॉम न्यूयॉर्क और डिफरेंट सिटी से यहाँ पे बिकॉज़ दैट्स वेयर द एक्शन इज़ हैपनिंग। लेकिन उसकी वजह से प्राइसेस हैव गॉन अप। तो अभी सेम जो आपको 2 से मतलब वन बेड अपार्टमेंट मिलता कोई साल पहले, दैट वाज़
Mm-hmm.
अराउंड टू 2500 टू 3000 लाइक रीज़नेबल
Okay.
अच्छी जगहों
Okay.
पे। Now that's around $4 to $4,500 per month,
Mm.
right? Or
Okay.
paid if you go up from there, like
And
you're
one
looking at
room,
two,
you
three
mean
beds.
like
Yeah.
one room studio
No, no, like a one bedroom and like has a kitchen and like, yeah, yeah.
allowed? Okay.
I think studio probably 1,800, 2,000 now,
Okay.
probably around
Okay.
$3,000. Or paid if you're looking like 2 bed and up, it goes 6, 7,000, like even, for a really nice place, 10 to $12,000 a month, right?
Wow.
Um, like, and I would say on average, if it's just,
Mm.
you and your partner, for example, and, maybe have a kid, I think you're at least spending $5,000 a month.
Okay. Okay.
And if you're in a good place, right? And I think most
Right.
people, if you want to live in a nice residential area, तो
Mm.
लेकिन
Yeah.
सैन फ्रांसिस्को की ये अच्छी बात है कि इट्स स्मॉलर बट लाइक most places are really good to live और हर किसी का
Okay.
benefit है like either you're going to be close to a beach or like closer to like a nice hiking spot बहुत सारे parks हैं like I think there's
Mm-hmm.
like upwards of like 15 parks or even more. मुझे tennis का benefit है like
Right.
where I live like I have three parks really close to me जहाँ I can walk और हर जगह
Same.
tennis courts हैं so it's like very easy to just walk on कोई tension नहीं like I don't have to like do anything. So I think that part is really good. Plus I love the weather. Like वो consistent है पूरे साल की एक जैसी है बस like I don't have to change anything. ये इसी hoodie में I can like spend the whole year. I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think San Francisco, another thing I kind of reminds me of Berlin actually, Germany is like it's very walkable city. So like,
Cha.
I prefer walking, like cafe जाना हो, park जाना हो, like even like work कभी कभी मैं बस पे जाता हूँ. Like I actually prefer that. मुझे आदत पड़ी हुई ऊपर से Germany की वो,
Yeah.
public transport wali, and it's not quite the
Cha.
same. Like, and I think San Francisco ki public transport is still very usable, right?
Right.
LA
The
में I
tram
couldn't
is
even like
famous.
imagine. Yeah. Cause I don't know if you know, लेकिन मैं पहले masters करने के लिए Orange County move किया था ना. तो in Irvine
Right.
बिल्कुल LA के साथ है, right? तो वहाँ बिल्कुल वही culture. Like मैं आया, I was shocked because मैं बर्लिन से सीधा वहाँ आया था. And I was like, man, like grocery करने के लिए मैंने कहा मैं पैदल चला जाऊंगा, it's no
Mm.
problem. पहली बात, no like proper like footpaths or anything.
Yeah.
I was walking in the middle of a highway. और फिर आधा घंटा मुझे लग रहा है सिर्फ ग्रोसरी स्टोर जाने का, तो 1 hour just to like walk back and forth और फिर ग्रोसरी का टाइम डालो तो I'm just like spending the whole day. लेकिन बेस्ट पार्ट, 2 हफ्ते के अंदर अंदर I had my license. Not the same as
Yeah.
Germany. यहाँ तो महीने लगते हैं. Like I didn't even try because I saw marginal
Yeah.
benefit, right? यहाँ पे
Absolutely.
तो it was like super easy. फिर उसके बाद like I got my car and then I was fine. But
So
yeah,
yeah.
that 1
अच्छा.
month was rough.
Yeah. अच्छा ठीक है नहीं now we feel like the conversation needs to move on.
Yeah.
मुझे ये बताओ कि let's now try to jump like I told you earlier कि would be interesting for everyone watching to know okay, where you come from. From I mean I can already tell you're from Pakistan, Lahore.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure. So you tell me, where were you born and raised?
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
Mhm.
How were you as a student? And yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. I grew up in Lahore, Pakistan. I was also born there. Basically, yeah, pretty much spent my life there until high school, right? That's where I met you at LGS. So, basically, pele, I think until O levels, I was at Crescent Model. And
That's how
yeah,
you know of fun?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Right.
how I know Afan.
Because
Afan, Fuad, all those guys, yeah.
Because I read your message and I'm like, Afan. So I was trying to think, I don't know how you know Afan. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a Lahore thing, maybe an LGS thing. Now it all makes sense, basically.
It's a Crescent thing.
Right.
Yeah. या इट्स क्रेजी। मैं जब बर्लिन छोड़ के जा रहा था फाइनली 2021 में, तो उस साल वो मूव किया था वहाँ पे। तो आई मेट हिम इन द समर एंड आई थिंक इट
या
हैड बीन लाइक 10 years और समथिंग हमें मिले वहाँ, बिकॉज़ क्रेसेंट के
सही है,
बाद से आई डिडंट मीट हिम बिकॉज़ वो
सही है।
एलजीएस जेटी चला गया था। आई
या
वांटेड डिफेंस, तो वो सारा, बट या दैट्स द आर्क।
सही, 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 सही। ओके।
खैर हाँ, तो या आई वेंट टू स्कूल देयर। हाँ, शुरू में ऑनेस्टली आई वाज़ जस्ट मोर ऑफ अ स्पोर्टी काइंड ऑफ किड, लेकिन पाकिस्तानी पेरेंट्स का पता ही है तुम्हें, इट्स जस्ट लाइक
Yeah.
स्पोर्ट्स इज़ नॉट अ बिग प्रायोरिटी।
अच्छा, you wanted to become a
लेकिन
sports person.
हाँ, हाँ, yeah, like early on ही I was like just very active, trying many things, but I started playing tennis when I was pretty young.
Hmm.
So around 11, 12, so when I started playing it, I got really, really into it. फिर मैं tournaments खेले, I started winning
Mhm.
tournaments. So I was like, maybe there's something here. तो फिर मैं like coaching दे रहा था बाग इजरा में, उन दिनों like
ठीक है।
एसामुल हक का काफ़ी वो चल रहा था कि
Yeah.
he played the US Open. तो I was like, अच्छा शायद like it's a
Mm.
possibility. It seems like talent है पाकिस्तान में, and there's the
Um,
right support. But yeah, like that plan crashed pretty quickly because like पहले मैंने शुरू किया, अपने coaching वाला ली, लेकिन yeah, the investment and everything it turned out was just like not gonna bring the results, and plus I think my parents were just more interested in having me pursue like higher education and just do all the
right.
all the things, right?
The
तो
usual.
हाँ yeah, yeah, तो हाँ basically फिर school शुरू में like बस मेरा सही था, like I wasn't really like, I was kind of the average kid, like पहले 5 7 grades तक, and then I remember something turned, I don't know exactly what, but then starting grade 7 8, like my grades improved a lot. Suddenly I'm like ranking in the top like 5 of my class. And फिर O levels शुरू किया, उसमें I got straight A's. I took 12 courses, उसमें से 11 में मेरे A stars और A's थे, एक में B आया था। और फिर वहाँ से फिर वो I was trying to figure out कि अच्छा अब next कहाँ जाना है A level के लिए, I wanted to like switch it up. तो तब मैंने Beacon House किया था, Beacon House Defense. I think you were there for a year, right? तुमने वहाँ से switch किया था ना? Yeah. तो वहाँ अप्लाई किया था that, and then मैंने एलजीएस डिफेंस किया था, और फिर थर्ड ऑप्शन एचएसएम की थी। लाइक मेरा बड़ा भाई एचएसएम गया था, सो आई आल्सो वाज लाइक मे बी आई शुड चेक दैट आउट।
Yeah.
लेकिन फिर ऑल इन ऑल आई मेट सर शहजाद, ही वाज देयर, एंड
Right.
एलजीएस डिफेंस एट दैट टाइम, and for some reason it just felt like the right fit, like for my tennis, for like
Right.
applying to colleges abroad. Also another thing, my brother went to Yale, right? So it was just like always a thing कि अच्छा मैंने भी like US ही apply करना है, and I'm also gonna kind of follow a similar path. So
Acha, let me stop you there.
yeah,
How old is your elder brother?
he is 6 years older than me. So
Okay.
he's like, yeah, mid 30s.
So let's say you were already in the eighth standard when he was accepted.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly that. I think it was 2008. Yeah, so I was in grade 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you say, okay, maybe that, because earlier you mentioned that
Yeah.
there was a switch and
That could
somehow your grades improved. You
yeah,
think that
that's
him going to Yale was a trigger, be like, oh, acha nahi, like that's also nice. I would like to do that,
yeah.
something like that. And
I
for
mean
that, the one main core thing that you need is to have good grades.
it's a plausible story, right? I think probably यही हुआ होगा। I think मुझे अब इतना ज़्यादा याद नहीं, but I do remember कि that was like a big thing. अब
Of course.
like मेरी family बहुत excited थी. Everyone
Of
was like,
course.
अच्छा, this is happening.
Yeah, I
और
don't know. I mean, I think like एक या दो लोग जाते हैं probably
हाँ,
Pakistan se
उस
every
साल I
year.
think there was like one other person from Karachi.
Right,
KGS से कोई हुआ था.
right.
And yeah, every year it's like one or two. HSN में he was the only one, so like it was like
Mhm.
a very big deal. I think Shamim Khan was the principal at that time, and he
Right.
came to my parents and was like, this is something remarkable. तो वो
Nice.
काफी खुश थे. तो of course seeing my parents happy, I was like, अच्छा शायद this is like the thing to do.
Mm.
So I think maybe that switched something in me, and I think things started changing a little bit because I think I definitely got a little bit more serious about like studies. खैर, yeah. So basically, Sir Shahzad se मेरी बात हुई. I told him about this whole thing, and he felt quite supportive about this whole thing, and I was like, अच्छा ठीक है, मतलब I can get my levels done, also extracurriculars, just उस वक़्त टेनिस टीम भी थी, I don't know if you remember, लेकिन Umair Fazal and like, Hamza, and like, some people were involved. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Just wanted to let everyone know that Sir Shahzad was the principal of the
Was the
school.
principal of, yeah, exactly. I didn't clarify that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Sarshazad
just
was the principal of LG's defense at that time. Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to clarify it. कि अगर if you want to be motivated, if you are motivated in life, you want to reach meta, that's the conversation you need to be having. That you are
Yeah.
a student and you're directly in conversation with the principal कि जी मैंने कहाँ जाना है, मेरे क्या goals हैं. That you're not one of those students who are sitting at the back and be like अच्छा नहीं देखते हैं क्या होगा. You need to be up there. If you want to apply to US colleges, you need to make your own path already उस उम्र से.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I agree. And I think like, I think being seen and also just like having some clarity in your path is very important. Obviously, I think, um, because I think the right connections, like even now, networking is like so important. Knowing the right people gets you to the right places, right? So I think उस वक़्त the right people were like, in this case, were like Shahzad and Auntie Sabine, right? They were kind of
Mhm.
managing कि कौन सी applications जा रही हैं, recommendations and all that, and also just like to set every student's path according to where they want to go. क्योंकि उस वक़्त यही होता था, right? You're just taking the right courses and you're,
Yeah.
doing the right extracurriculars and whatnot. खैर तो हाँ, फिर वो path था, तो उस वक़्त I started applying. Turned out, reality hit pretty hard. और आई अप्लाई टू डिफरेंट प्लेसेस लेकिन मैं फुल फाइनेंशियल एड के लिए अप्लाई कर रहा था उस वक्त बिकॉज
Mhm.
आई feel like it's pretty challenging. I think for a lot of people, US colleges apply karna with $60 to $80,000 in tuition per year for a Pakistani family to pay is a lot.
Yeah.
I don't even
Absolutely.
know, like that's like a couple of crore like every year. Just
Yeah.
for education is a lot without any like with any sort of like compensation, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. Back
So
then was based on
yeah,
the dollar PKR. It was 4 crore, I think, four and a half
exactly. There you go. Yeah,
for
4
a
crore like per
4 year
year.
bachelor.
Exactly.
Huh.
तो उस वक़्त फिर ये हुआ कि I got some admissions. लेकिन it was either like need aware, where it's like you
Mhm.
can prove that you can pay and then it's fine. And those were
Mhm.
good universities. So I did very briefly consider it, but I was like, okay, maybe I should consider some kind of loan. People do that.
Mhm.
But then that sort of just didn't seem feasible, right?
Mhm.
Especially you're kind of I don't know now. Kind of looking back, there are two parts to it, right?
Okay.
It's like okay, you do that and you take the loan, and then if you just kind of betting on your future, right? It
Yep.
might work out really well, and you get to be where you want to be, and then you pursue your passions, and then money does eventually come, right? That's
Yeah,
my thinking around it. The other
for
is like,
sure.
okay, yeah, it doesn't make sense at the moment, and you do follow that same path, but take a different route, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you just erase your dreams and you're like, Acha, haan, this
Of
isn't meant
course.
for me. It's more like, Acha, yeah, let me just take a different path. It might be like, might not be exactly what I wanted to do. Like, and as long as I get to the place where I want it to be, it
Mhm.
doesn't feel awful, right? But yeah, it's hard
Absolutely.
to make an 18-year-old kid understand that, right? Us
Hmm.
वक़्त I was feeling very beat up. Like I had the grades, I had like a good score and everything,
Yeah.
and it just didn't quite work out. So yeah, फिर उस वक़्त Jacobs also applied there, and mainly out of the recommendation of my elder brother's friend.
Okay.
उसका I think उसका भाई गया था Jacobs, also pursued computer science. Or I think this is kind of an interesting story. Growing up, like मेरे से हर कोई like पूछता था कि what are you gonna do? I think this is such a common conversation in Pakistan. Like बड़े हुए क्या बनोगे, right? What are you trying to do? I'm freaking eight, just running around, don't care. But like people want to know what I'm gonna do. तो काफी अर्से मुझे नहीं पता था. But one summer turned it around. Like मेरे मामू वो कनाडा में रहते हैं अब, and he's been like doing software engineering for like
So
the
yeah.
longest time.
Okay.
So एक summer he just came around and he's like, I'm gonna teach you guys C++, and
Oh
I just
wow.
want some cousins to just join in and do it, right? So mainly like mere is my mamu. My other mamu's kid was like, was the main sort of target. He was like, Achani, I want him to really learn, but other kids can join too. I was like, sahi hai, maza aega. Like, this is with other cousins. Let me
Mamu,
just do it.
I have to say that your mom was pretty visionary.
Yeah, I mean,
If that's
I
the
I
only
don't
thing I would say.
disagree. I don't disagree. तो हाँ, basically हुआ ये कि I joined the class, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just crazy. Like उन्होंने algorithms का बताया, I got super invested. And then there was like a little challenge where he was like, "Acha, I'm gonna give these to you guys, like, and you don't have to do it. Like, and I also think you guys can't do it, right?"
Mm-hmm.
I took that as a challenge. I was like, "No, I'm gonna do it." मैंने सारी रात लगाई अगले दिन I had the answer sheet, like everything done, like I had coded everything out, right? And I think that is the first time I truly realized that I love this thing. Like this is what I want to do. There was no lack of clarity there. I was like, अच्छा ये चीज मुझे बहुत पसंद है. I can spend hours on it.
Mm-hmm.
तो उसके बाद बस फिर as you'd have it, like मेरे अंकल गए and I was like, अच्छा I need to continue this. फिर मैंने web development शुरू की खुद ही से. I would just like code up things like on my own. कोई side projects कर रहा होता था, like CS classes में भी, like even LGS में भी.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
would be done
remember.
with my assignments like super fast, right? And like I was just like I loved that. Like it was like super easy for me. Like it never felt
Hmm.
like a big challenge. Um तो yeah, I think वो उससे connecting back to the original story जब Jacobs apply किया था, I think उसका यही था कि मेरे भाई के दोस्त, he had a really good experience like learning CS at Jacobs. He did tell me, like, he was like, it's the hardest major you can do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people fail all the time and, get depressed and everything. Like, and I was like, honestly, अगर मैंने कुछ और choose करना भी हुआ, I just probably feel like depressed doing that, right?
Yeah,
मुझे एक ही
yeah,
चीज का शौक है, तो I'm just gonna do that, and it seems like,
that makes
grads
sense.
अच्छा भी कर रहे थे ऊपर से, because I think a lot of Jacobs grads like went to Microsoft and
Yeah,
Google and
yeah.
like were doing really good. Exactly. So I think like that kind of made that decision easy, where I was like, I had some acceptances from like Imperial College London or like some other options in the UK, which was like a lot more affordable compared to the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
लेकिन फिर yeah, I ended up taking this one. इसमें scholarship भी थी, so it wasn't like, in the end it was a lot more doable. So I was like, "Acha, haan, this feels good." Because I also wanted to go abroad. I think well, Lums Wala track and everything just didn't feel appealing, because even then I just felt like, which is unfortunate, Pakistan just felt like it didn't have everything I needed
Mm-hmm.
at that time to succeed and do what I want to do. Um, so yeah, I just felt like, yeah, I need to go somewhere else and like make sure that, I'm securing my future and like do the things I need to do. So yeah, Jacobs felt like the best option at that time, and I took it.
Yeah. ठीक है. Acha, so basically to sum it up, you in hindsight, in principle, you wanted to go to the US. Due to specific scenarios, you decided ke acha theek hai, Jacobs is rather more affordable as well. The scope is good. So you came to Germany. How was your experience moving to Germany? Had you ever traveled to Germany before that? Was it the first time you were outside the country? How was the culture shock experience? How did you settle in here?
Yeah, it still feels so weird to think about. It was the first time I had left, Pakistan, and it was my first time in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think having a host family helped. I remember, I think Jacob still has that program, so you could apply to have a host family.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was incredibly helpful. When I arrived, they picked me up from the airport, and they sort of helped me understand Germany a little bit, right? You can imagine, koi bhi Pakistan se aa raha hai, it's a big shock, because
Yeah.
like a lot of people either don't want to speak English or don't know how to speak English, and I think a lot of like signage and everything is in German, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot for someone to understand, and also like different countries have different cultures, different ways of operating, and so I think like it did help the blow. Like having a host family, because they helped me with a lot of things, especially like some random things I needed, like, oh, let's go to the grocery store, like how to even deal with like banks. There was no concept of cards. You just
Right.
have to carry cashes, right?
Right.
Uh मैं और तुम एक दफा I think फिगसा के कौन सा एरिया था वहाँ गए थे, and you kind of, because I was like 2 weeks late. मेरा visa बहुत late हो गया था, right?
Cha, right.
So I kind of missed first 2 weeks of classes, and I remember like हम दोनों गए थे, and you were like, okay, yeah, let me help you, like get your bank set up, or like
Right.
वो सारी चीज की थी, तो I went with you. And it felt like even in those 2 weeks, you were already like, you'd already understood the system to the extent where you were like, Acha, let me help you out. So that was
Crazy.
incredibly helpful. Thank you for that, by the way. I
No
don't know
worries.
if I
To be very
formally
honest,
said
I
thanks.
don't remember this really. I have no idea. I think it was so
Yeah.
overwhelming. And also,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
don't discuss things like that, I really don't. I have no clue.
Yeah.
Even now that you mention it, I cannot
Yeah.
recall it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, a lot of things feel like a blur, I think, just out of how it was. But yeah, first time, I think like at times it would be very almost scary to get to step off campus. Campus felt
Yeah.
great, right?
Hmm.
Everyone speaking English, like it's a very it
Safe
felt like a
space.
safe environment, like a bubble,
Hmm.
right? It was like easy to survive and live. And a lot of times you're spending time on campus, like, meeting people and going to parties and everything. But then, you're stepping off, and then suddenly, like, reality is hitting you every time. It's like, oh wow, like it's a different world out there. And I still remember thinking, कि अच्छा अभी तो ठीक है, like, I have 3 years ahead of me, like
Mm-hmm.
पढ़ाई करनी है, और उसके बाद फिर I was thinking कि अच्छा, I don't know, I'm gonna live out here. Like,
Acha.
yeah, that's kind of like a first thought I still remember having, like initial days.
Acha. So you studied CS 3 years, right? Did you have to do an internship in between, or was it all 6 semesters, or did you go for an exchange?
Yeah, I did the exchange semester. So I and I think two other people got selected from our class. So the way it worked was like they would pick top 2%, and then those could apply, right? And then from the applications they
Okay.
would take like 2 to 3 people and then send them to Carnegie Mellon, right? Carnegie Mellon is like
Right.
still I think top 1 or 2 in CS uh, all over the world, right? So it was like very competitive. Even going from Jacobs, where the curriculum was
Hmm.
very
Acha.
uh like tiresome and like intensive. CMU was like a different beast, I feel like. Still it was a lot, but yeah, I did the exchange semester. um and in hindsight, I did no internships, and I feel like I probably should have done it. uh,
Acha.
there was summers when I was just like so homesick. I just wanted to go home. I was like, nahin, I just want to spend the summer with my family. Like
Cool.
ek saal Germany mein, or like, without any sun, and like long months of like, cold was just like making miss
Yeah.
Pakistan a lot. So summers mein it was just like easy, main chala jata hu. I'm just like gonna think about this later. Lekin then, when after graduation, I was like, man, I don't have any experience. I never did an internship. So it hit me then.
Okay.
So now if I would, talk to my, my past self, I'd be like, nahin, like, you should spend at least a month or two, yeah, at least 6 to 8 weeks ki bhi internships hoti thi, which I
Mm-hmm.
was like, should just do that. Or phir, you'd probably feel a little bit more comfortable and like ease into,
Yeah.
the work life after graduation.
ठीक है. Why was that? Why was this that you wanted to go to the US because of Silicon Valley? Did that attract you? Or that you're like, yeah, acha nahi yaar, the digital world, the world leader in digitalization, for instance, or AI is Silicon Valley, the US. So that was, how was it? What was the thought behind, okay, why did you eventually want to end up where
Yeah.
you are?
I think like any people that I followed or got inspired by, were all based in Silicon Valley, interestingly, right? Like I followed Zuckerberg a lot, especially
Right.
initial years of Facebook, the way he scaled everything. And
Or
I feel like all the innovation was always happening in Silicon Valley. So even when I wanted to do internships, it was like, oh yeah, most of those are actually still in San Francisco. And so I think partly, I think I was telling you initially, even when, I took that path to go to Jacobs, I was like, okay, yeah, this is like, I'm getting rerouted, like, and, I still want to kind of move to San Francisco eventually.
ठीक है.
And I think uska main reason tech ही है. Like, I
ठीक है.
feel like all the innovation happens here. Even now with AI and everything, we're kind of the first ones to try it, right? Even like to innovate it and like build something. And I think that in itself is very exciting, right? There are times when I'm like working like crazy, but then I'm like just kind of reminded of like that, little dream of being an engineer, being a software engineer, and then working on AI. And it just feels right. It's training at times. It's not like always, yeah, great, this is awesome, but mostly it's a positive feeling. So So yeah, that was always back of my mind, you know.
ठीक
Even
है.
when I was like in Germany and living and like doing everything, eventually I knew that I was just gonna, you know, move. I didn't know how and when it would happen, but yeah, I had
No,
that back of my mind. Yeah.
ठीक है. अच्छा, so then you graduated in computer science. You eventually did go for a master's to the US, but not directly after you graduated
Mhm.
with your bachelor's.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about why was that the case? Why did you decide to stay in Germany? What was the thought and the reasoning behind that?
Definitely. I think एक चीज तो जो I briefly mentioned before, I didn't done any internships. So I think
Mhm.
one thing I did want to do is like gain some work like some work experience, right? I think I mean that was like a very rude awakening, right? Work isn't the same as being at university, right? It's a very different thing. And so I think I felt like that was important for me to learn and spend some time like actually working. And I think almost being at Jacobs didn't feel like the full German experience. I feel like we were inside,
Mhm.
you know, a university, everything's English, like you don't have to worry about anything. So I couldn't tell myself like, yeah, मुझे डर लग रहा है German से और मैं कहीं और रह नहीं सकता तो I'll just like escape and go somewhere.
Mm.
I just had to tell myself, no, this is a hard thing. I have to deal with it and I have to get comfortable with it. And then at least if I'm leaving, I don't want the reason being, ke, oh, yahan main adjust nahi kar sakta. Like, you know, it's
Right.
hard work, but I think in that there's a lot of learning. Like, I'll be looking back, I think it was the right decision. Like, uh, उस सब चीज से I learned so much ke I feel like definitely in other parts of my life, it does still help, right? There's some part of
Okay.
resilience where it's like, a like, you know, I can
Mm.
manage this. I know I've done this before, right?
Mm.
So I think I just want to tell myself that. The other thing is, yeah, just core like work experience and actually like living in Germany, you know, like actually experiencing Germany for what it is. Um, और आई थिंक मुझे अभी भी वो वलीद और उमर चीमा के साथ ट्रिप याद है जो बर्लिन हम गए थे 2016 के शुरू में. And I was like, yeah, Berlin is like quite fun and I do want to move there eventually. तो ये भी मेरी एक like ख्वाहिश थी तो I was like अच्छा पहले इससे पहले मैं कहीं भी जाऊँ I think I might wanna like check that out. तो फिर yeah I ended up like living there a couple of years before I finally moved. So yeah that was
Right.
kind of the thinking behind it.
Right. Acha, so after your graduation, how difficult was it for you to find a job? How did you get your job and where was it?
Yeah. It was quite difficult. I think more difficult than I imagined. Partly because मेरा कोई work experience नहीं था at that point. Partly because उस वक्त मैं ज़्यादातर remote भी था. I went to Canada for a couple of months to like live with the same uncle that I talked about,
Right.
who helped me with software engineering.
Visionary
So
uncle.
yeah, visionary. So I was like, listen, like I need your help with finding a job. So why don't you like kind of prep me a little bit? So I went there, I lived with him, and he kind of like you know helped me with that stuff. Then I went to San Francisco. I came. My brother was already living here. My older brother. He's been here for over a decade now. So I visited him, and then you know I started applying. लेकिन हाँ, शुरू में like because I had no practical experience, I was just failing like coding interviews, like stuff that I even knew, like because they're
Mhm.
not gonna ask you, oh, how this algorithm works. It's like a Chinese build me something, right?
Mhm.
Especially in the beginning, I think one thing that didn't work was like you know applying to startups. They just want someone you know just running from the first day, right? You don't want someone that
Mm.
doesn't have experience because you know startups don't tend to not have the time and the money to actually spend that on someone to
Mhm.
help them gain
Yeah.
experience. Usually, bigger companies do that. Then you move to startups and you can hit the ground running, right? Anyway, तो उस वक़्त like it was pretty challenging. एक और चीज़ मैंने जो बिल्कुल नहीं की which I probably should have done is referrals, right? I feel like
Mhm.
जो अब especially tech की दुनिया even if you are like you know working at whatever company whether you know you're working at really good roles I still feel like referrals apply करते हैं और तब तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा करते हैं especially if you've graduated just like I would recommend every single person to find 5 to 10 people
Right.
get a referral. Do not apply without it. Like you're just gonna waste a lot of
Acha.
time. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a good realization for me because I
Yeah.
also think it, but I
Yeah.
didn't think it's that strong. Okay, without it, it's just hopeless, and it's that
Yeah,
important.
yeah, I think for me at least, like I made it happen without, right? But I think the pain and the suffering would have been a lot
Mm,
less, right? I might have gotten a job in 2 months compared to 6 months, right? For
right.
example. And I know a lot. There are people that struggle a lot more because they're either feeling hesitant or not trying to talk to people, and I feel like a lot of people are just like wanting to help, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if you're cold reaching out, I think the university thing helps a lot. I think especially because Jacobs के alumni इतनी अच्छी companies में
Yeah.
हैं where you can just reach out and say,
Yeah.
hey, we went to the same university, like and then introduce yourself and ask and see if they want to help. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people say yes, and
I would
that
say
can help a lot.
I would agree with you. I would say actually even like I wouldn't say that no one
Yeah,
would not want to help you. I would say actually 100%
exactly.
of the people would want to help.
Yeah,
That is the case with
yeah,
me as well. Like
yeah,
मुझे random up since the YouTube channel, random
yeah,
people are also trying to look me up on LinkedIn and try to see if there are roles in my company. And I'm like, sure, just send me
yeah,
your CV. And
yeah,
if, of course, if I think you are, let's say, 60-70% fit, I
yeah.
would refer you. अब एक बिल्कुल ही
Absolutely.
dimension फर्क है. अब एक बंदे ने
Huh.
environmental engineering पढ़ी हुई है and वो paid social
Yeah,
media marketing की
that
job के लिए
that
apply
wouldn't
कर.
work.
So I would suggest
That
them,
would
okay, yaar,
work. Yeah.
sorry, it would just look bad on my
Yeah.
part, what sort of person I'm referring.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
as long as if I think you're a fit,
Yeah.
thoda sa bhi, to I'm more than happy because I get a referral bonus out of it if you get
Yeah.
selected. So I even
Right.
have a
Right.
monetary benefit out of it. So why wouldn't I?
Why
Similar is the
wouldn't you do it?
exactly. Or and I can also say that, for instance, for my job at Amazon, I was referred to by a friend, and for my working student job at PCG, I again same thing you mentioned, Jacobs alumni. She was the manager who was looking for someone, so she wrote it in this Berlin alumni group or Munich
Okay.
alumni group,
Nice.
Jacobs alumni, that there is a role and if anyone's a
Yeah.
student interested. So that's how it is, and and now I have those things on my CV, and still people ask about them. The point is, K referrals, absolutely agreed, they were. Acha, so you got your first job at
HR forecast.
right,
So
right,
that's actually kind of through a referral. Atabak worked there, right? So I
right.
actually connected with him. And so he kind of got me the first chat with the CEO, and yeah, it was a very looking back, it's a very rocky sort of job. I feel like I don't know. I think if I could go back, I would start at a bigger company
Okay.
because I think there are so many things to learn, and learning that in a structured environment, at least for myself, everyone's
Hmm.
different, right? So I can't pass a recommendation to someone just
Yeah, I
randomly.
mean, we're interested in your opinion
Yeah,
now because you're the one
exactly.
who's a senior software engineer in Meta. So what you say counts.
So I think like if I could go back, I'd probably go to a bigger company just because like there would be a lot more structure, and I feel like there's so many things to learn that you don't want to be so overwhelmed that you're just chasing everything. So I think for me that start was pretty rocky because right from the get go, I had to own things, and like I just had to produce a lot of code and like just completely manage certain parts of the product myself
Uh-huh.
that I feel like is a startup's requirement, but can be a lot for an just like an entry level or a new grad, where
Uh-huh.
it's like you haven't seen the world quite yet, and so it can be quite quite demanding and overwhelming. And so yeah, I think that's why I would say it was a rocky start. Did I learn a lot of things? Absolutely. Like I think I learned at a pace that I probably wouldn't have learned at a bigger company. So
So there are pluses,
there are
pros to
pluses,
it.
obviously. Yeah. I think the pace at which you can learn at a startup is like not even comparable. Like an internship anywhere else, I'd probably learned 10% of the things that I learned at HR Forecast in the first couple months. But yeah, that was the first job, and that was in Bremen. So I moved out of Jacobs and found a place. I think it was in first Walid, and I think I was somewhere in Neustadt for a little bit.
Okay,
So
nice. Yeah,
yeah,
Neustadt was good area.
was the hub. Yeah.
Acha, so how long did you work there, and when did you make the move to Berlin?
Yeah. So I worked there, I think around 10 months, 10, 11 months. And, um, and yeah, my move was mainly inspired because I wanted to move to Berlin.
Hmm.
And I got an offer from Accenture at the time. And it felt like, the right offer. It was in a good space, and that got me to move to Berlin. So yeah, that was kind of how the next step happened.
Acha, just quickly, I would like to ask you, let's say you're working at a company like HR Forecast. It's
Mhm,
a smaller company. You're learning a lot.
mhm.
How does this consulting life or the consulting aspect of working at Accenture came into being? For instance, I'm not sure 100% that if someone who I would say that if someone who's a computer science person who loves to build product, how does they how do they fit in a consulting environment? Is it
Yeah,
attractive option? Was it an
yeah,
attractive option for you based on कि you would have liked to do client work and build products for different clients? What was the reasoning why you chose to move to a consulting company and not,
yeah.
let's say, a tech company?
Yeah. I think at the time there were a lot of perks. I think the perks and the salary, I think, kind of got me to moving.
Hmm.
And I think the other thing is, I wouldn't say even that it was like the normal consulting job. I feel like I was spending like 90% of the time coding.
Okay.
So like उस वक़्त we worked with Volkswagen, we worked with
Hmm.
Audi, and like I was working, with the clients directly. लेकिन my only thing was like अच्छा, like figure out architecture, like जो भी वो making a technical like roadmap उनके साथ. And then I was just coding. So actually I got a lot of time, like I got to spend a lot of time coding and like upskilling in that way, where I was like, नहीं, I just want to do that. I do think अगर बहुत ज़्यादा traditional consulting job होती, I probably would have left like
Hmm.
within the first month of being there. I think I'm just like, it's not something that excites me, and I feel like if I'm not spending a lot of time
Yeah.
coding, then it's just not happening, right?
So yeah.
तो I think like in that way it was like a very special kind of role. और जब मेरी initially बात भी हुई थी with my manager at that at Accenture, so he told me exactly this, and that got me to thinking like, अच्छा, this might still be a good fit, and I don't need to look for a pure like tech company in that way, right? So yeah, that's what got me into it, and yeah, I mean, compared to other consultants and other roles within Accenture, again, same thing, right? Accenture is like a mega company, and
Hmm.
so I think they have all kinds of roles. I think if I wanted to look for just pure consulting role within Accenture, I probably would have found it. लेकिन
ठीक
I
है.
wanted this, and it worked out well, and I was there for, I think, right before my move to Irvine, I
Okay.
think for almost 2 years, yeah.
अच्छा ठीक है. So you were at Accenture for 2 years. So all in all, let's say you were 6 years here in Germany then.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Acha. So one interesting question from my side is, okay, usually or generally, if someone has spent, let's say, 5 years at least in Germany, somehow people would tend to live a little bit longer since once you have crossed that 5 6 year mark is like a chaya,
Yeah,
now I can become a German citizen.
yeah.
It has its perks, it opens up a lot of travel options, etc. Was that ever a thought for you? Yeah, abhi bhi you
Yeah,
were adamant कि नहीं मैंने तो यूएस ही
yeah.
जाना. Thank you for watching. This was part one. You will see the next part next week, so stay tuned.